At number 1 of our semi-finals of ESL Open Cup Korea 188. We're 3 months away from number 200 in these ESL Open Cups. How exciting that is. As in the bottom left, our red Zerg player from Dragon Kaiser Gaming. Teammates in this semi-final matchup, actually. It is going to be dark in the bottom left-hand side. Top right, our Blue Protoss player, herO, as mentioned, also from Dragon Kaiser Gaming, the teammate of Dark. Let's see how he can do as we get this one up and running, get this operational. Yeah, herO did choose to veto Neo instead of Ancient in the end. Dark then did pick Ancient for game number 1. I do feel like Ancient is not a terrible map for Protoss. It is a larger map, so sometimes that aggression can be harder to come by, but it's also a very decent 4-base setup. You know, it's a pretty standard way to take 4 bases, which means if you do want to play a bit of a longer game, it's definitely not out of the question, right? It's definitely within reason to kind of go for something along those lines. This Proby is going to come and just scout around a little bit, trying to figure out what we're getting up to here. Meanwhile, the Overlord is also heading across the map to try and pick up a little bit of info as well, so just all of that on the way through for the moment, seemingly is the current plan of action. See how it all ends up. Again, hatch gas pool all being brought in. Nothing really too surprising on the side of Dark just yet. Nothing too surprising there in the slightest for the moment. Have that pool coming down in the back. Again, a couple more dronies and so on. All coming up as well, so just bringing up as much of this as possible. These gases get going now as well. Just going to try and get that underway. And so just going to be seeing again our ZvP finishing up in a couple of moments. Will give us the chance to be a little bit more aggressive, of course, and actually to get some action going. Obviously, the first few moments pretty chill, and the ZvP opening up the pathway to the tech choice, which is going to be to head into the Stargates, which is not really too surprising, I guess, at the end of the day. And the Stargate coming through, the Warp Gate coming up, speed still coming in. As going to be seeing our Stargate, it's about to finish up in the next few moments, so bringing that through. Warp Gate is still coming in for the moment as well. And we are going to get a Void Ray out initially, so that's going to be part of our intrigue here in the first few moments. Now, that Void Ray definitely a little bit interesting to kind of get underway, so just bringing that through, getting that set up. So we're going to see a couple of wings continuing across to the upper right-hand side as well, as just trying to keeping on with, you know, in terms of pressure, in terms of trying to deal some damage, get some bits and pieces done. The Void Ray activates, going to knock down an Overlord pretty much straight away. So just going to go and clean that out. It's obviously one of the benefits of the Void Ray. You can knock down the Ovies, and it's very difficult to scout follow-ups. That's why a Void Ray into kind of differing tech choices can be so powerful in this matchup, because there's just so many different ways you can kind of follow up. And if you have the Void Ray, you really can't just hide what that follow-up is going to be, so it does make it much tougher on your opponent than it might usually expect to be. This Oracle continues down the bottom left-hand side, so herO wants to try and get a little bit more something done in these upcoming moments. Twilight Council Forge still building up, and Nexus is about halfway through. A couple probes on the way, the Oracle producing as well, as a couple drones do end up going down. And just nice little bit of damage being caught in the early stages. Nothing too crazy. Together as Depths and the Oracle still build up down the bottom left. Another Nexus coming through. Border is still around in the skies. And again, Dark is going to opt to play this kind of melee upgrade into the Baneling Nest, similar to what we saw him playing against Creator in that previous map of StarCraft in the round of 8. So, just going to play kind of similar to what we've seen him playing before now. Again, the melee upgrade quickly allows you to get very aggressive very quickly as well, so there's generally a pretty decent benefit to that for sure. As these Lings come in, and they're going to catch both of those Adepts, so they are going to take some pretty heavy shots. They are going to go down. Both these Adepts die, but 4 drones did die as well. The Oracle's now coming back in to make it 6, and that damage is adding up. That is the sort of damage which will go a long way for you eventually here as herO, so good to be able to grab as much of that as possible. Queenslings back through to the other side. We're actually going to start going across the map. Only 46 drones, so Dark is not replacing the workers he's losing, and he's actually cutting quite early in terms of drone count. So now coming across the map, he's got a pretty sizable army. Is herO going to be able to get enough up to really defend against this? +1 and Blink are both building for the moment. Like I say, is that going to be enough? They've got a couple queens here to try and fight against the Void Ray. No creep spread, no transfusions. The Lings just very good against Stalkers, which is kind of the army at the moment as well. So, just in general, I think it's fair to say that this is very likely going to be pretty powerful for Dark, and that herO might have a bit of a tough time dealing with it. But again, let's see. These Banelings are going to start coming forward again. The Oracles will activate as the Banelings knock down a battery initially. Now they do wrap around on those few Stalkers in this mineral line, so they will go down very quickly too. Queen's still around as we do start to see a first couple of probes dropping, but I don't know if Dark's done enough. Here's supply is looking okay, especially if he starts getting the units up to start playing defense. He will lose an Oracle there, but his Stalkers are coming in. They do have Blink and +1 now, which should be, in my eyes, enough to defend this, right? And you can see it now. He's getting rid of the Queens. The Lings are not going to be able to get too much of a surround on this amount of Stalkers either, so that doesn't look as though it's going to go anywhere. I do think this is going to, in fact, be herO cleaning up, defending, and that is going to be game number 1, perhaps, if you can see this through to the end. Like I say, it feels like a pretty good position so far, but nothing's over till it's over. Not in the world of StarCraft 2, at the very least. Stalker's still pressing down. They're going to jump onto this hatchery as well. Start to pick our way through that as the Lings trying to get another little bit of a surround there. The Stalker's going to have to recall back, so for the moment, the Lings are good enough to hold their ground and destabilize. And for the moment, at least, then herO is not going to be able to do too much else, so things will settle for a few moments. Maybe Dark can get away with this. Drones coming up still such a late lair. That means, you know, things like Baneling speed +2 melee, these are all heavily delayed from what they might have usually been. And those kind of become, in some ways, the new problems, I suppose, that we kind of now have to face. As herO just says, cool, I actually kind of like my position. You can't do much to me for a while. Let me drop a second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon, and I don't have to worry about breaking into your positions. I can just force you to have to break into me. Otherwise, I'm going to get up a little bit of a dream army, which is obviously not really what you want to be fighting against from Dark's point of view, so definitely becomes interesting as the Fleet Beacon is still just now finishing, and we'll see what herO builds first. I imagine this is just a straight to carrier scenario. Like, he doesn't have a ton of supply behind this, but like I say, he knows how the game has gone, and he knows a lot of Dark's tech is delayed, so he feels like he can get to carries before he gets punished for it. I 100% agree. I'm with him. I actually think he's making the perfect call in terms of expectations here. And, yeah, for now, it does seem as though that is the case, as these Lings can just take a moment to nibble through and eat up this set of rocks. Just going to knock those down as well. And our carriers continue through, +1 air weapons and the armor upgrade, all being brought into this. Stalker gonna sit there, a few Lings get turned around. Again, our carriers still producing through the Nexus, and the cannons all building up as well, so all of that still just being brought straight into play. These Zealots and Stalkers gonna go up around the top side. Again, just a few more moments of moving around a little bit, trying to figure out exactly what we're trying to do, trying to see exactly what we're trying to achieve. Dark with the Spire coming in. I mean, like I say, it's a good call. I like it. It's something that can A, deal with the carriers. But B, might just bring him back in the game in general if you can get up like a chunk of mutas and really harass with those. That could also just be a very viable way of playing this. So, definitely some cool possibilities, some cool options kind of on the horizon here. Let's move up that sentry in the wall. Going to be good to just turn that around. Stalker, nibble up at the Overseer as well. Just going to knock that down. That's really nice to get rid of as well. So yeah, just good to get rid of that right off the bat. And it's one more thing that's kind of going your way throughout these early stages. Still got, there we go, the Corruptors coming through, and now the Carrier's coming up. But we're getting the Storm up as well. herO was, again, in a good position to move into this later stage of the game. And that is kind of exactly what we're seeing from this right now, so can't really say that there's anything wrong with what we're currently getting going. Like I said, the Corruptors are known about, so herO knows what he's playing against. He knows that Dark has made that kind of tech up into this next stage. He's going to start flinging a couple of, you know, units over at Dark as well, just try and keep him a little bit preoccupied, more so than he would like, so that he maybe is forced to make a couple of mistakes and maybe can't utilize this army as it first maxes out. The more time herO has for upgrades to finish, etc., the better this is still getting for him. As Lingbane Roach comes to chase those Stalkers down, Stalkers do blink up to the top. Another massive Zealot counterattack on the left, but as it wandered on to creep, it was spotted out for the first few moments, so it is now known about. Storms all over the place as the Corruptors do make their play. The ground army is not really holding out. I mean, the only reason the ground army is getting anywhere is because the Zealots weren't really here, and they didn't commit across the map either. Which is a bit sad for herO, because if they weren't here, you would have liked them to have been committing across the map, because then you would have done a lot of damage if, you know, Dark really was fully focused on this push forwards. I feel like at the moment this is looking to be probably just good enough. And there's a couple more connections come through, see a couple of units starting to drop down and everything. We've seen our Lings Roaches coming through, clean up those few Zealots on the south side. herO will have to go into rebuild mode. So I guess maybe this won't be quite as clear-cut as it perhaps initially seemed. I actually thought this was pretty okay for herO, but rebuilding is not quite going well enough just yet. We do have carriers still joining up together. Just going to run in once again, just going to see if there's Proby's getting attacked, and we do now have the Lings all the way into this main base, going to burrow up and stay hidden for a little bit, so just going to hide over here and just try and, you know, come back and be annoying again in just a few moments' time. They're going to pop up, but that's just not going to be enough. Obviously, herO was kind of on top of that, so not allowing that to be too much of a factor. The feelings are still coming around for the moment, and just again getting in here, just being annoying, right? These are sort of the annoyances that you don't really want to be facing against as herO. You kind of want to focus a little bit, you know, with your main army. This army is kind of scary, right? You kind of want to be able to take this across the map and, like I say, just focus on that and really do something with it, but so far not really being allowed that opportunity. I'm going to say that's just down to solid play of Dark, being super active with these Lings, being super active all over. Once again, this base is going to take a beating. It's just a question of, can Dark get up an army to really fight against this late game Protoss? You'd expect, yes, honestly. I mean, Dark is a very solid player. We know that. You know, right? There's no questioning that from our point of view. So yeah, we kind of know that. Can Dark kind of get into that sort of state of the game, though? Like I say, it's not always easy. Let's see where we end up, as we do see the couple of probes going down again. 14 probes killed. hero's still maxed out. And now he's not rebuilding workers, so he's just adding on more and more army. So his army supply is actually just getting higher and higher here, which is a little bit scary if your name is Dark, to have to fight against so much Protoss all at once. However, if you can take down that army, there's not really going to be rebuilding potential. So then that obviously is a pretty nice little way to look at it as well. And I guess then you kind of say that this kind of works both ways, right? So yeah, funky little situation here for the moment. As Storm's coming down, these Corruptors do again get chased out once more. And I think herO's army is going to be too much. Like I say, this was always going to be the question, can Dark deal with this one massive army? And at the moment, the answer to that absolutely seems to be no, not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. Storms keep on coming through. The Corruptors are all that's left. The problem is there's no follow-up to the Corruptors because there's no Hive, there's no Great Spire. So once those Corruptors have kind of done their thing, they are very much so dead weight this time around. You know, a lot of the time they're not dead weight. A lot of the time there's a lot that they can do. This time, unfortunately, they really are nothing but dead weight in this situation. And that does seem to be bringing us to a closeout here on this game number 1. We do see Dark counter-attacking for a bunch of pros, but it's not making up for the drones that he is losing. That is the issue at the tail end of this. Again, this army of herO is just unkillable. So it looks as though herO... Remember, I mean, it all started off with herO defending well initially. And that initial defense really led him into this position where now he can kind of just play as he has played, putting himself into very comfortable, convincing positions. And, yeah, just doing things right. Like, he transitioned up into carries when he saw the moment and the opportunity for it. He didn't feel the need to go and try and end the game immediately. So obviously he is still kind of full on base tradey mode, but, like, do you really think herO can let slip the defense that he has on that one base that's remaining? I just don't see Dark actually breaking through that or anything and actually making a difference here. That's kind of my issue. That's kind of why I don't think this is going to be problematic at all. As we knock down a Bane Nest, the Evo Chamber going to be going down as well. Knock down a Spawning Pool. Overlord's dying. This really does seem like we're on the tail end of things for the moment. Is forging a few more pylons. We'll continue up. Yeah, I think job well done from herO. Let's see if, like I said, Dark can maybe pull out some magic, but I feel like that base on the top side is nigh on unbreakable with all the static defense and so on that's coming around in that position. And if that's unbreakable, that really is the one place you need to kind of be moving through if you want success here as Dark. Gonna give it a go. herO could bring his army back up here as well. He does have recall available if he wants it to, so another option. He is going to recall it. Super Battery will keep the base alive for a little bit longer, and he recalls just a portion of the army. Oh, he does lose the base, though, so the Nexus will go down in the end. Okay. herO doesn't have enough money to build a new Nexus. That is actually kind of expensive, but Dark's going to type GG. He still doesn't have a way to fight this army. He's going to start losing the Corruptors, which are the only way he has to clean out kind of structures on the ground as well. Our second map. As down a game in the bottom right-hand side is going to be the red Zerg player. Couldn't quite make it work after the opening kind of 46 drone Ling Bane attack. Didn't do enough. It is Dark in the bottom right corner of Bresvan. Up against the player in the upper left who is now up a game. It is going to be herO. Game number 2. Let's see where this takes us. Let's see what's going to happen. As we do immediately have the Nexus blockade here. It's just going to do that for a couple of moments. Okay, we're coming up. Hatch, a couple drones all coming through. We do have ourselves the gas now starting up as well. So again, nothing really too surprising, just straight away. And Nexus will go down as well. Just gonna get that placed into position. That's going to be seen again, just a slow start, nothing too crazy. When you're talking about PvZ openings, this generally is a slower start that you see, so like I say, not too surprising. There's that OV still kind of wandering around to the upper left-hand side as well, just trying to see a little bit of what's going on for the moment. When is StarCraft 3 coming out? StarCraft 3 comes out in the next 10 years, I'll be extremely happy. I have absolutely no faith in StarCraft 3 still. I don't believe these rumors and whatever else we've had. Nonsense, I tell you, nonsense. Yo, Guitar King, how you doing? Oh, hello, Wardy. How you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for the 2-month resub. Good to see you, man. Thank you so very much indeed. Dep going around, probes coming through. Just getting us a little bit of setup for the moment. We just have our WardiTV going to pop on through and just going to be seeing that as the opening. It's a little bit interesting from herO. It's not really the opening you oftentimes see in this day and age, but it is one we can kind of like dive into. Predator actually does this a lot. A lot of the time, if I'm kind of thinking about a build like this, I think Creator, not herO, so much. But herO has obviously shown us recently that he's kind of happy to mix things up a little bit as well. Just a little bit of back and forth then, as we do see the Twilight and the Forge coming up pretty much instantly though, so there's not really anything too crazy about that either, so we just get that ready to go. As we do have a melee upgrade continuing out as well. Yeah, just continuing through with that for the moment, and like I said, that's going to give herO his setup. And you can now start to see where Dark's setup is going to be as well, right? As you can see him heading towards that kind of melee upgrade once more. Really just aiming again for that Ling Bane kind of pressure and expecting to probably play a bit more macro focused off of it this time rather than trying to hit that kind of timing that he hit last time. After taking some damage last time, he obviously just really decided to double down on that attack and just to go, but it wasn't enough. herO going to completely change it up as well with charge and +1 behind this, so he's really playing a very different game, away from that blink and just away from everything that we've kind of, come to kind of expect from him in this game so far. A very different approach this time around as WardiTV continues over to just, again, do a little bit here and there. Just one attack and armor both being brought into play. Stealing our cannon and our robo facility being set up as well. Your depth is going to come down this right-hand side. A Oracle Revelation going to grab a couple of those creep teamers already. So it's going to be seeing this hatchery finishing up. We do see our Depths is going to come forward, going to nab one of those creep teamers straight away. He's just going to take that down instantly. And again, just very light pressure as we're heading into like Charge Out Arc. And I don't think herO feels the need to do anything more serious than this anytime soon. And so he just kind of doesn't. It's going to clean up some creep, take some map control in that regard, and just kind of go from there, apparently. Seems to be the current plan of action. A lot of extra gates coming up as that Robo and Temple Archives are both brought through. So you can see now Depths and Zealots still joining up together as well. So just kind of seeing where this might head over the next little while, as you do see Robo continue to produce. Going to see a Phoenix coming out, a couple of High Templars coming in. So a lot of this being brought up into play for now. Person comes into the main, again just trying to find a little bit of that harassment for the moment as well, right? It's just trying to do what we can with this. And if there's opportunity, we will try and take that opportunity. As you see, the Prism going to get forced to back up and just back away over the left-hand side. See us still coming through here as well. Going to fly into the main base. You got a good bit of scouting done, so now you can know you have pretty good information as Dark as to what you're up to, what you're up against, what kind of changes you might want to make. But obviously at this stage, there's still not really that much to see for the moment. You know, herO's playing a pretty standard, straight-up kind of honest game. It's really not that wild at all. So, yeah, pretty just chill. I mean, chill sounds like a weird thing to say, but like, we're just not really making many plays right now, right? We're not doing much stuff. We're not trying to do anything different. As Lings and Queens continue around Dock, there's a few more Banelings morphing in out on the south side. 24 of them building up. Getting the speed's about halfway done. The Adrenal Glands is on the way through. A +1 missile attack upgrade is coming up as well, as the rest of these Banelings will finish. They'll be able to decide just what they want to get done in the next few moments. As Zealots going to come around the bottom side. They're going to start charging forward straight into these Banelings. It's not going to be ideal for them. So this run by a herO goes absolutely nowhere. Now the Stasis Ward will help to protect on the top side. A couple of these initial Banes will not do anything. One probe goes down. It's important for herO to defend positions like this, like that. Specifically because you're in a real scenario, a real position right now where what you really want to be able to achieve is convincing defenses. And if you start losing out on the top side initially, then the bottom side becomes much harder to hold because you've got to pay more attention to the top. Convincing defenses come when you can pay attention and really focus. So if you stop the multi-prong from being effective, you can absolutely start to achieve that. And that's exactly what herO's starting to do as well. You can see some of these shots of the Disruptors starting to do extremely well also. So that's also becoming a little bit of a factor here. So that's also becoming a bit of a thing. And still just gathering up over on this left-hand side base. herO happy just to hold on to 4. He has no reason to necessarily go overly aggressive just yet. He can see the Dark and sense the Dark as being the aggressor. Dark is in a scary spot though. He's got Adrenal Glands finishing, more Ling Bane readying up. He's maxed out. His drone count is good. The bases are all up and running for him. Let's see if herO can pull off some magic, because these are not easy defenses to find. As our first Disruptor shots. Finding a little bit of something. That one is good. Gets a lot of the Banelings, but we're coming in from the other side as well. Now herO has to pull down here to respond to this. He's going to lose every single Disruptor in the process. At the same time, on the top, at least he does defend those units pretty nicely. Yeah, losing every single Disruptor and a couple of the Archons as well that were kind of coming in between the bases before the Zealots got there to tank. He can't afford to lose these tech units. They are the kind of the rebuilds that are so difficult to afford here, and I think that's going to be the biggest issue of all coming into the latter portions of this game, because you can just see Dark now jumps in with even more units, and again, without the tech units really there in good numbers, the spammy swarminess of the Zerg is just almost impossible to truly deal with. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now, as these Lings and the Banes and the Roaches and everything just keep on coming through. And they are going to be absolutely non-stop in playing cleanup here. Plus 2 missiles, plus 3 melee as well. I mean, just more upgrades to favor Dark, because he knocks down the 4th base. He'll have now just a 3-base Protoss to go up against someone that, you know, should be very, very, you know, killable at this point. Not sure the Mothership is going to be a saving grace of herO, but it will spawn. Maybe one fight where there's no Overseer will buy you a few more seconds, but we're in a game where I feel like you need minutes, not seconds as herO. That's just the deficit he sits at, as Dark looking to tie up the semi-final matchup. Lings, Roaches starting to move forward. There's Archons here getting cloaked up by the Mothership. We will back away for a few moments there as Dark. He's just going to take a few to kind of back it up, chill it out. And we've seen everything still gathering together in the center, and we do see now an entire army back at it again, coming around this right-hand side. Spire coming up, the Disruptor shots coming through. Can we get enough Disruptors on the map to really deal with Dark? I kind of don't know if I want Dark to stop attacking. I guess the Mothership is slightly scary, but I know it's only a 3-base Protoss, but it just feels like he has enough to kind of just go. How much does herO benefit with time? Obviously, time is herO's friend in a way, because he really needs the chance to build up into more tech units again, but is it enough of a friend to actually save this game for him in any way? He needs to get to like 160 to 170 supply. And then I actually feel as though herO can take some fights again. Which is kind of where he's about to be at. Obviously, he doesn't have money in the bank, so Dark is the one that's going to be able to kind of go, rebuild, go again. it's important that herO's tech units here stand up and kind of really show their worth. 6 Archons, a couple of Disruptors. He needs these things to do, big damage. He needs these Archons to be in line with the Zerglings and to hit them for splash. He needs the Disruptors to find a clump of units. The models don't really do too much, right? They're kind of tanky, but they're not exactly brilliant when you consider the fact that there's a lot of Lings on the map. They're going to be doing a lot of overkill, not getting bonus damage on a lot of these units they shoot at. And herO doesn't really have a choice other than to sit here. Like herO is not a typically passive player, but in this game, there's no choice other than to be a passive player because, well, your opponent put himself in the lead, and his army is very good at kind of coming in to fight you. So you need to be able to be in defensive positions if you're going to win these fights at all. Let's see how this is going to start going. Time War comes down, slows down the access point of this Bane Roach. Gotta say, herO really is digging deep in his pockets. Throw anything he can find in there at Dark just to give him a few more seconds. At this point, it is kind of becoming a game of seconds. Said minutes before, we've kind of had a couple minutes though, and now it's every few seconds you maybe see a new attack unit on the field, a new Archon afforded, and all the rest. The Disruptor turns around to go after the Banelings. The rest of these Banes go after a Super Battery. Okay, well that's a pretty big deal because now everything else isn't going to be going up against the Super Battery, so that actually works out quite nicely. herO going to be with a little bit of micro chasing down Dark instantly on the rebuild, so his supply feels like it hasn't moved, but he did lose quite a bit here. It's just that he can rebuild so quickly. That's the benefit of having built up the bank an earlier portion of this game. herO's army still moving through the center here, and now he's going to end up on these bases. Hey, if we can't get enough Banelings up as Dark, is there a world where he actually loses out on this? That's going to be a Disruptor shot to get a few of the morphing Banelings there. Couple Archons in the front. This Disruptor shot top side is huge onto the Banelings as well. herO, magnificent fight so far. Another massive Time Warp is also huge, and now Disruptor shots come through the Time Warp as well, hitting a lot of Roaches. Is there truly enough here from herO? For the moment there is. Reinforcements will start to spawn. herO has the Prism as well, though. More Zealots and more High Templar Archons are on the way, and herO, his overall supply is not looking pretty, but his army is up against purely Roaches, and Roaches just don't usually get the job done. Where are the Overseers? Where's the detection as well? We can't see this army right now. Overseers, 4 of them are morphing, but that's an expense from Dark he did not want to spend. And herO is making a game of this with this push. These Roaches, they need so much damage. The Disruptor shot will fire. It is going to go off for a few Roaches as well. The Archon's able to do enough. The 1 Immortal, the 2 Immortals are still alive. Initially, I didn't feel like they were too great when they were up against Lings on the other side of the map, but now they are so imperative to this army. Unfortunately for herO, it's a lot of Zerg that is showing up. The Archons are trying to micro. The Prism tries to get another warp in. We've got Immortals jumping up and down. Is it enough as the Mothership falls? It looks as though Dark has quelled the storm. He does have a few more Zealots to go up against. Another Disruptor showing up from herO too. Can he find the magical shot with this? He aims. He fires. He does not quite land on all the Roaches. The split from Dark was good. And herO doesn't have time to morph in Archons here. Surely not. As drones are pulled to the battle, this Immortal is saved. The first Archon morphing will not get into play. The Immortal has a barrier to keep it alive a few more seconds, but herO's supply is truly draining away right now. This does look as though Dark has found the defense against this army, but my goodness, did he have to put in some work for the defense. That was not just gifted to him in any way, shape, or form, and herO making an absolute colossal effort to try and stay alive and make something of this game that looked pretty doomed for him at certain points. The Lone Corruptor here just to poke away at this Prism and to push that back. Stop that from just kind of like hanging around or anything of the sort. So just going to be seeing a little bit of that as well. Man, what a great attempt from herO. He really did give every, he put himself in a position where he had a chance at the very least. As now, obviously, it should just be a case of Dark rebuilds a bit, and he should be able to rebuild much better than herO. Even though herO did kill a bunch of drones, it doesn't quite make up for the fact he's 20 workers behind still. As we drop a couple of assimilators on that left side, try and get the 4th base set up. herO. Yeah, you just gotta sit back again. You gotta say, hey, attack me if you want to. I'm gonna try and get my tech units rebuilt. Get to that good amount of Archons, get to a good amount of Disruptors where you can realistically find damage with them. That's basically where we have to, play for the moment. Oh, 12 probes just went down on this left side. A couple of Banes slipped in. And apparently that was something that herO didn't quite catch. So 12 probes do fall. Not exactly the ideal time to be losing any amount of economy as herO. It's actually going to be pretty rough for you. It's pretty bad. Like I said, it's definitely not what you want to have happening, so... As Archons and everything else continues to join up together, we are just going to still see this Prism moving around with a couple of units inside. When we find some magic as herO, he did give us a go of it. As now our force comes back around to the right. And just going to charge through. A few of these lings already starting to drop. The banelings morphing in. A few extra going to be finishing up as well. Great Spy is about halfway done. Few corruptors coming through. Banelings. And try and jump on a couple of those Archons. We jump them down to the low ground for a couple of moments. Bane's going to find another mineral line. Of course, at this point, any probe loss for herO is so expensive. Build a few drones, but Dark is rebuilding drones like it's nobody's business. And herO just got to send those probes back to mining. There's actually one Baneling burrowed up there, right? So that's a pretty cute little something. A couple Banes that could maybe still come back into him. And I think herO knows that's why he's left the Archon here. But if he ever pulls that Archon away, these Banelings are just going to pop out and go blasting. As Broodlords are popping through, I think that really is the checkmate marker that herO will come up against. It's not really a way for him to afford an answer to Broodlords at this stage. Like I say, incredible effort though. Great attempt to make something of this as Fellas are going to charge through straight into so many Banelings, and unfortunately that is not going to quite work out either. And we really are. 20 minutes here on Gresvan, going to be seeing ourselves go into Game 3 of this series. We do finish off this base, by the way. So that will go down as drones and probes still falling, but again, every time you're seeing probes die, it's so much more influential for herO than it is for Dark. He is extremely happy to take down any amount of workers that he can. It's going to keep putting him into a better and better spot. These Banelings unburrow, they reburrow. We're going to apparently Archon splash the Banelings down, which, you know, you don't see that one every day, but worked out here, so you can finally let your workers mine without issue over on that left side base. Tip of battery will pop. We do see the Disruptors are going to try and find something, but if the Broodlords just sit and attack, I think the Broods are going to be way too much. Broodlings raining down on this army. I mean, Archons can get rid of the Broodlings quickly, but then everything else behind isn't being hit, and that's where the issue is really going to, you know, come about. 14 probes going down. This base on the right side is pretty much dead as well. We can see that. And, yeah, I think this is going to give us a GG on the horizon. How's that Broodlord still coming across? Roaches, Banes, and Ravagers coming through as well. Continue to push around this left-hand side. Our Broodlords getting zapped by these Void Rays. We're going to get rid of one. We're going to go for another. Again, at this stage, I think the ground army can kind of just swarm as well. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do. Once we jump onto this force, the Archons are not going to last. That is going to be our game. They were on a very low supply before leaving, but it has been an intense one. Babylon, top left-hand side. Our red Zerg play here from Dragon. Kaisi Gaming. This is Dark. And that series tied up with what in the end had to be a pretty sick defense from himself, as things definitely started to slip out of his control, despite things having been, you know, looking so good for him up until a certain point of that last one. In the bottom right side, herO is our blue Protoss player. Get this underway. Awesome game. Always fun to see herO and Dark play against each other. They play against each other a lot this year in a lot of tournaments just like this one, right? But I still feel like they always come up with such different games, right? Like, I never feel like there's a series that looks the same as another series that these two play, at least not totally. Like, there's going to be games that are similar, of course, but I really do feel as though there's been so much, so many cool different ways of playing, basically. Very awesome. Drone's coming around, nibbling that probe. We're going to drop the cybernetics core down as well. That Nexus will begin on the side of herO. And the pylon will be starting up as well, so just getting all of that underway here. So let's see where this game takes us. herO opened Stargate a couple times, but he has mixed things up a little bit, right? So a little bit intriguing in that regard, as you know, he went for that Void Ray that game, and Void Ray itself is, like I say, genuinely kind of intriguing a lot of the time. So it's cool to see those things coming about. Bring that link speed up as well. So again, just getting a little bit of stuff set up and running. The Adept going to come shading through for a few moments here. And again, just going to see our robot facility coming on in. Our link speed is still producing along. The Zerglings, the Queen, the Hatchery, all being added up as well. So the Ling's really going after that Adept. We're just going to try and find a couple of drones. This drone becomes a spore crawler there, and that drone will now cancel out and try and look at this in a different direction. This Adept going to go shading into the natural. As the Adept shades up into the high ground, we've got a few Lings that are going to try and catch onto that Adept. Will not quite manage it. A Twilight Council robotics facility will be added in. The robot just now finished, and again the warp gate is going to be completing in just a few moments. The prism is setting up as well. It's a very different opening here from herO, right? I mentioned the idea of maybe doing something that isn't the Stargate. And this time he's going to go completely off from the Stargate, so just a complete 180 of expectations. The Robo into the Twilight Council. So you're going to have an early Prism, of course. The early Prism allows you to come across the map and to go harass a little bit and to put some damage out. And then beyond this, you're going to have yourself the Twilight Councils. You can go for like a Glaives follow-up, would be my initial expectation. Get a lot of Adepts out and really kind of hit a big Glaved Adept timing. The Dark Shrine was not my expectation at all. Wow, that's definitely one way to do it, right? I mean, you're going to have a Prism, so you're going to be able to drop those DTs around. You're going to be able to Archon drop a bit as well. So it adds up. It makes sense. I don't think it's the craziest of things, but like I said, it definitely wasn't my expectation as we try and... That's actually kind of a big deal if we actually kill that Overlord, that small thing. Unfortunately, the Adepts don't do enough damage to it, so it regens just as quickly as it takes hits. That is going to be an Overlord that will successfully pop out. Would have been cool though, because if that Overlord doesn't pop, then Dark supply blocked a little bit, and that maybe obviously could have had perhaps a little bit of an impact. At the very least, as a couple of Adepts going to drop down. The Prism going to get chased away just a little, and then that Dark Shrine finishing up in a moment. A chunk more drones still being brought through. The Lair still coming up. The Queen still coming in. Observer popping out of the Robo facility very shortly as well, but really kind of watching for these DTs. Lair on the way, 2 spores ready, no spawn in this third base, however. The spore is set up to kind of defend the Prism from flying in, right? So they're not immediately kind of ready on top of mineral lines either, so there's potential for these DTs to do a lot. And 4 DTs are just going to straight up warp in, and that's a dead hatchery, right? Oh, you see, we've noticed it as Dog, as now we're actually going to turn on to the Queens, though. Going to hit those a little bit. Now he's going to realize, hey, I can actually go onto this hatch. Spore's going to start walking over to the side. We're going to continue to go after the Queens. It is funny because a lot of the time the hatchery, when it dies in this scenario, isn't actually enough damage to kind of make it justifiable. So I can understand the one to try and maybe turn onto the Queens and do some damage there as well, instead of just hard focusing the hatch. It's kind of ridiculous. I always like when I cast builds like this with Hossam, because he always tells me it's so bad that sometimes you can kill the hatchery and you're still behind in the game. I think this was nice. You may not have killed the hatch, but you killed a couple of Queens, you got a few drones. You're forcing a lot of units right now as well, and behind this you're taking your third base with a good economy. Your worker count is looking pretty respectable, all said and done as well. 5 more Overlords producing from Dark, so you can see that things have been a little bit chaotic for him. It's not typical to build 5 Overlords all at once. As the Prism is going to come back over this right side, looks as though we're going to have the other 2 DTs morph into an Archon as well. Doing that in a very safe place, making sure they're not going to get hunted down. Making sure you're not going to lose a morphing Archon without being able to do anything about it. Blink's going across the map. There's plenty of adepts here. In the end, there's just going to be into Blink, into +1. Obviously, I said Glaives at first. That was before we saw the Dark Shrine. I think after the Dark Shrine, then go Glaives as well. It'd be like so harassment focused that you've got to be just terrified of a Zerg building units and just attacking you yourself. So I much prefer this, Immortals, and now Blink and +1 as well, since you've been to a pretty, solid just overall situation as we do find ourselves a Queen with the Archons, and this is exactly what you want to be doing with these Archons. Staying active, keeping busy, getting a pick off here and a pick off there, and just adding up, the damage that works against your opponent. Just make their life as difficult as possible. That is absolutely what's going to be done for the moment here as our Prism. Let's just stay out over this right-hand side. Just going to unload these couple of Archons. Going to go after one Creep Tumor. Lift back up and go back toward now the main base. herO Bay as well. herO will have options to go in towards. I imagine the Disruptors would be his go-to in this regard. The Prism comes back around in the center of the map a little bit. Still seeing that herO Bay coming through. The extra gates coming out. Our Mutalisks on the way out. 6 of them in production with Roach Speed also producing. He comes up this left-hand side. Archon, Immortal, Stalkers, all gathering together. Overlord taking some shots, and not the best at time to be building a clump of Mutalisks, right? Mutas are not going to be amazing when this army is on your front doorstep, but then maybe they could jump on top of the Prism. We would much rather have that money spent elsewhere. The problem is if you cancel them, then you're missing out on the potential to... the money that you've spent on them, or not the money, the lava you spent on them, so then you don't even really get much of a benefit. So you do let them finish, they do dive in, and they do kill the Prism. That was probably the best thing they were going to find. Now this army is still strong here from herO, but he might not push in without the ability to reinforce, although he's still doing very well for himself, poking right on top of this hatch, and that's the 4th base of Dark denied. So herO's absolutely in a stellar spot. Of course, he will have to at some point defend against Mutas as well. He looks pretty well set to do that, especially considering you got Blink, and this is a very small amount of Mutas. We did kill about 3 of the Mutas already this game. There was only 6 made. So the Mutalisks, unfortunately, are not going to be that terrifying. They're not going to be that influential. And of course, that's a little bit sad as well. As Bling Ravager, Queen continues up. Melee upgrade coming in. That's a great Blink on top of this hatchery. Gets an instant kill. It's a fantastic grab there from herO. Just, a kill as well. No money back for Dark. And in a game where your 4th base is already heavily delayed to then be losing money on trying to build it, really ain't doing you any favors at all. Fourth base coming up. Just going to grab a Zergling here. +2 attack is not far from finishing out a herO. As the Stalkers come forward, going to grab a couple of Ravagers pretty much immediately. That's always a nice start as well. Just going to grab a couple of those. We do see the single Zergling trying to run up this ramp is not going to be able to do too much. Stalkers come forward, is going to pick off 2 of those Ravagers again. The 3 Zerglings still coming around the bottom now. Stalkers blink up the left-hand side. They are going to jump onto this hatchery. And hatchery will indeed go down. So that hatchery will fall. Now Stalkers and jumped on over here once again. They're going to get forced back yet once more. And we jump straight on top of these couple of Mutas, so they are going to get picked away at. And the Mutas just trying to be active, trying to be somewhat annoying, but we can obviously see they're just not really meant to be. That's not surprising, as man, that's a huge Protoss army. +2 did no upgrades as well, by the way. Melee upgrade about to be done. I don't think melee upgrade makes any difference in this army that's mostly Roach Ravager anyway. The Mutas got brought back into this. I think Dark just F2 to try and get everything possible, but herO is not going to give it any respect at all. And he's going to get the GG out of Dark to take the 2-1 victory.